Citrix Secure Private Access is a great way to offer web, SaaS, and other internal software applications to your end users with single sign-on and advanced security controls. Let's jump into the demo. I'm launching my web browser and going to my workspace URL, which is preview.cloud.com. All employees go to the same URL because under Zero Trust, all access is restricted with a single point of entry. Adaptive authentication means each connection is granted access privileges based on user profile, device, geolocation, and other characteristics. The first step is Endpoint Analysis, or EPA. My laptop is being checked for antivirus software, for whether it's domain joined. EPA is looking for a certificate, and for specific Windows registry keys. My device is a company-issued laptop, so I'm allowed to log in with just a username and password. If I was using a personal laptop without the right virus software, then EPA would trigger multi-factor authentication, and I would be assigned a different set of access privileges. So I type in my credentials, and now I'm signed into Workspace. I see a set of applications based on my identity that I am permitted to use. Some of these are virtualized apps, but others are SaaS, web, or intranet apps that are not virtualized using Citrix. Notice SalesForce and ServiceNow are both available to me. Since I'm on a company laptop and I'm a trusted user, I can launch any normal browser and get to those SaaS apps. But what if I was on my own personal laptop? In that case, I would launch those SaaS apps in a secure, isolated browser running somewhere outside of the company network. So for this demo, I launch SalesForce in a secure browser, and single sign-on just takes me right into SalesForce, so I don't type my credentials again. This is more secure than a regular local browser session because it runs in a virtual machine that is hosted using Citrix Cloud. Notice the watermark on SalesForce. The secure browser is doing that. So while we do have anti-screen capture and anti-keyloggers built in, if someone were to try to exfiltrate data by simply taking a picture, there's a watermark with my username and IP address, which makes it traceable. There is also a clipboard restriction. My IT admin has this set up, so I'm not allowed to use copy and paste. I'm not allowed to navigate outside of this URL, and I'm not allowed to print anything. Citrix has offered these restrictions on virtualized applications for a while, and now we apply the same controls on non-virtualized SaaS and web applications. Now let's launch an intranet app. Back to Workspace, and I'm able to use single sign-on again, and I can get some work done. Beyond web apps, Secure Private Access leverages a Zero Trust Network Access Agent, which means you get protocol and IP-specific access to internal apps without the exposure of a full VPN tunnel. Let's say I'm using Excel, and I need data that's buried in an SQL database in the HR department. I'll go ahead and type in the server name or the IP address of that internal SQL server, and I'll be able to pull information to my local Excel app. I just have to type in the server name or the IP address that I have access to. The Secure Access Agent knows I am granted access and I have an active connection to the backend database. I've been granted access to this one specific server over this one specific port without the need for a full VPN tunnel. With that data imported to Excel, I can get some work done. IT people have been known to use SSH or Secure Shell to get to various systems in the data center. Secure Private Access can make that possible without a full tunnel VPN. So I launch PuTTY, which is an SSH client application, and I type in the IP address of an internal Linux box that I need to access via the CLI, which is command line interface. So I go ahead and I type in this internal IP address. We will be able to see that I've been granted access to this specific Linux box over this IP address on one specific port. And now I can get some work done. If I log out and log back in, but this time from an untrusted device, I'll get access to a different set of applications and privileges. For example, if the EPA scan cannot find, let's say, antivirus software that it's requiring, I can still be allowed in, but as an untrusted user, requiring multi-factor authentication. In this case, I would also be presented with a more restricted set of applications. What we've shown here is how to aggregate all of your applications in the Citrix workspace using Secure Private Access Agent. I had single sign-on access to the intranet, internal websites, and external SaaS applications. We showed how adaptive authentication based on endpoint analysis determined if you are allowed in and what work you can do after you get there. That's Citrix Secure Private Access. Non-virtualized apps through a single URL under a zero-trust security framework, regardless of where the apps are hosted. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching.